Clay, I have kind of a two-part question.
Okay.
So do I understand correctly that this is simply a proposal that we would, should we agree to accept it or support it, that it would then not necessarily start a runaway train with ODOT and Lane County, that the the stakeholders of the Three Sisters Committee may not be on yet?
So then, yeah, essentially what I'm asking tonight is for you guys' approval to present the proposal to the Three Sisters Meadow Partners Group. They've been acting as the liaison for the community to the current holder of the property, the McKenzie River Trust. And then if they were to agree to essentially be transfer the property to the district, do you have the agenda that I handed you? Some notes on the back.
Lane, since you're on the committee, are you at liberty to tell us whether or not that committee has agreed or had the opportunity to agree to any portion of that land being used for sanitation in the future?
I don't know if there's ever been like the question hasn't been called yet. I know the committee has been working and has been working to support the concept plan that we had that I shared with you, and a lot of that had community engagement.
Yeah.
And one of the top uses was for that purpose, for the sanitation system. Also, some of them, I know the next one was like kind of like light industrial use, housing, recreation, open space was really important in the input. But no, I don't think because there hasn't been a project that would move forward. It's been a lot of waiting for DEQ and.
So if we approve this, they still have the opportunity to not accept that use or choose to use that land. They have the authority to choose how that land gets used. I just want to make sure we're not approving something that is an end run and starts a runaway train that with ODOT and Lane County that they haven't had an opportunity or aren't interested in. So.
Yeah, I think like Lane County, after listening to the commissioners meeting, I know they want to make sure this investment stays in the community. I do think though, like this is, gives the stakeholders group the opportunity to look at it and weigh the benefits of what they feel the bigger community has. And as I'm on that committee, I would be recusing myself from this decision because, I'm asking. So
is Cliff present?
Yep.
Yes.
Could we ask him if he'd like to respond to that anyway?
Can we back up just a minute though?
Sure.
I'd like to back up. I'm still not clear in any of this discussion what it's going to cost the district. What kind of money is the district going to be responsible? Are we going to be responsible for the entire Three Sisters Meadow or just that one section of land? What's going to cost? Are we going to have to pay to hook up to that system ourselves? For me, I think I need to know what the cost is.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So like the funds to build the county has, and they would do the management of that project. Where it end up costing the district is when we get to September 2026. We would be operating that system, and I think that ended up being about, from what I heard from the county, and I'm also trying to independently verify it, it's about $1,600 a month to operate, so that ends up being about $19,000 a year. And so since it's our system, we wouldn't be paying to hook up to it. That would be part of the build out. But that's my main concern is like the annual cost. I spoke with some other people who are knowledgeable about these types of systems, and they don't think that that'll be the full cost, but I haven't been able to get enough specifics from the contractors that would be operating it. We already, because of our size and how much we already discharge with our 6 systems, we already do DEQ reporting. So we're already doing, I know, at least about $2,000 a year of a contract with Oregon Water Service, who comes and checks our flows and makes sure that we're in compliance and files all of that. And essentially it would be working at a new contract with them to do similar work, but with a more labor-intensive system. So there'd be more inspections and some maintenance with different media and stuff that is used in those types of systems. So
that would be our cost until something ever got developed there. So that could be forever.
potentially, yeah.
And is that deferring current cost? Is it a trade or is it addition?
I think.
Just that it's 2K.
Yeah, I haven't been able to compile how much cost we put into like pumping our current tanks. I haven't been able to pull all those invoices together. But from just looking at the initial math, it'll be additional.
Okay.
Do we pump them every year?
That's what I'm not positive about. I know we have recently, but I haven't been able to establish the interval of frequency.
Okay. So currently we pay about 2K to do that, and this will go up to 19K until it seems like we're going to be becoming a business, or our board ourselves, a separate board. So I'm not clear how that works. Are you going to be responsible for it as a superintendent? Because you're stretched pretty thin already.
Yeah, I know, like for the maintenance, we can contract with a company that does that. So I don't think there'd be a whole lot of, additional management on this end. I do think though, if there's other hookups, we would have to have, so what they say, similar to like an HOA type agreement, and there would have to be, rates set up for those connections to make it make sense. So then that way you could get some cost share on it. So there would be that burden of setting that up.
Well, it seems to me that the reason to have it is not just for us, it's for the future development of that property, correct?
Yeah, that would be, my thought why, brought this to you all is, we're, anything we can do to add either business opportunities or housing opportunities, I think is really important, for the success of the district. It's like this first year, second year is not going to necessarily, bring about a big dividend in housing or jobs or, butts and seats and classrooms, but I think it would trend that direction if everything lines up. So it's a risk.
Dana, go ahead.
Yeah, my concern is a lot like the lake. I'm concerned about what it's going to cost the district, and then also what it's going to cost Lane as an individual and the amount of time he spends, because he's pretty stretched thin already. And I'm wondering if we can't just throw our name in there as a user, not take possession of the property, and leave it to Three Sisters Meadow. And by the way, as a disclaimer, I'm a member of that committee also. But because the intent is to get that septic system built, because we're running out of time, and keep that $3.5 million, and then build housing and light industrial in that site is what the original plan was. So I don't know how we can do that without making a big cost to the school district. Can we just say, our plan is to hook up to it in the future?
No, so we've tried. A lot of my bandwidth and capacity has been put into a lot of helping and supporting this work with recovery. So, I think it would fall in line with what I'm already stretched thin doing. And I do appreciate that sentiment. But no, like we've gone a lot of different avenues with this. Before we brought it to the board, we tried working to see if we could find another nonprofit that could take it on. We've asked, could we just build it and not, just have it there for future use? I know that's a question that the commissioners asked at their meeting when they were here. And essentially like DEQ was like, well, no, you have to have a permit holder and you have to have like a use. So there has to be a reason for it to be there. And that was what prevented another nonprofit, I think, from being able to do that, is like they couldn't guarantee that they would have a use within, a couple of years when the permit was finally due. So yeah, and then land, like ownership wise right now is with MRT, the Mackenzie River Trust holding the property. I know that's like not in their mission to do development. So finding someone to own the land to be able to construct it, it would be difficult to not have it change hands in some way.
Yeah, my concern is being on the board of the Three Sisters Meadow Group too, is that the intent of the property was for community use, and we just put it in Mackenzie River Trust name to hold it because we weren't incorporated company or anything. So, but my concern is the cost of the district, but also, are we meeting the goals that the three Jones sisters put down for what their intended use of the property was? So, I don't know. I got a lot of questions, but
yeah. No, and I was rereading some of the kind of the notes that I know Brandy took during the initial kind of discussions with the family about the property, and they kind of kept it pretty wide open, pretty vague about just as long as it's something for the community, the community benefit.
that's what I remember too, is to benefit the community the best way possible.
And that really was open, like it didn't matter if it was housing or open space or a factory or, right, just whatever benefited the community.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, so I had the honor of working directly with Casey Jones during all of this consideration by the Jones sisters on what to do with the 16 acres, and logged, I think what Lane is referring to, a conversation with Casey Jones around their intent, which was in response to a letter written by 14 different nonprofits representing the Mackenzie community and stakeholders. And really it was a dream list of all the potential uses that could happen on that 16 acres. I don't think there was too much left off. There might even been a swimming pool in there. And essentially, but giving the community representatives the opportunity to work through the community listening sessions and to be the decision makers with this collective. And so the conversation with Casey Jones, it's for the community benefit, and wastewater definitely was one of the uses on the list, in addition to, future development that benefited the community as a whole.
But we are no closer to that, right? Like we don't have a like you guys as a group don't have a yep, this is what we've decided on, this is what we're doing, and now we're gonna start funding to do whatever that is, right?
Yeah, I mean, so
That's correct.
yeah, I can confirm.
Yeah, I don't think any decisions have been made. Thanks for jumping in there, Brandy. I didn't realize you were there.
Oh yeah, we've got a whole audience, Dana.
Yeah.
It's an important meeting.
The camera's not showing me that until she talks.
Let me see if I can change the settings.
One additional thing that I think is worth sharing, based on the questions around cost to the school district, is that Mackenzie River Trust holds a grant dollars to own and steward that land, and whoever takes on ownership we'll take the remainder of those dollars that are left. It's been about 6 months since I've connected with Joe Mall, the ED, directly, but my guesstimate is probably still around $40,000-$50,000 left in those two grants, and I will say that because I wrote those grants back in the day when I was with MRT. But it's a significant amount. I mean, it's not huge, but it's not small. So I just at least wanted to put that out there as a consideration as well.
So Brandy, then would the district be responsible for all the reporting and such like that for the continuation of those grants? I mean, would all of that be then transferred over with the property? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Right. In the conversations with Joe Mall, that money would be going with the property. And of course, MRT has to authorize whoever puts their hand up to take on ownership to make sure it goes with the original intent of the Jones sisters. But there's no reporting. I mean, it's been years now. One of them was the Community Rebuilding Fund. There's no reporting needed for those dollars. They were very low barrier dollars that came soon after the fires across Oregon. So no reporting necessary.
What was that dollar amount that's remaining?
I would estimate 40 to 50,000. It was originally around 80,000, and they've been mainly just mowing, paying insurance for the public open space, how they've been managing it.
And they clear out a bunch of stuff too.
Yeah.
I have one other question. I'd like to get Brent's perspective and Cliff's perspective on this proposal, see what their thoughts are.
I mean, they haven't been presented it yet because we haven't approved them actually being officially presented this proposal.
Right. Just I have been in discussions with Mr. Richardson about this.
So we have as a board have not officially said to present this to them.
So basically, this is coming about because somebody needs to take care of that has to be responsible for that 3.5.
Yeah, essentially
there's nobody else, what you're saying is nobody else at this time can step up and do that.
Yes, and then if somebody doesn't, then the state needs to pull it back and then reallocate it so it can get spent before the September 2026 deadline. That has to be a project that's probably shovel ready, and they have all of the planning and design work in. Like my first question when it was like, that money could be left on the table, it was like, can we build that on our property? And given how long it took DEQ to do the water testing and the hydrologic analysis on the Three Sisters Meadow, it was unlikely that we could have that done in time before the state took the money back. So essentially, this is just one last, there's no other project upriver that is ready for this, especially since was earmarked for wastewater. I'm sure there's some other projects up here that could be put to use for, but because it was earmarked for wastewater, that kind of narrowed down the scope as well.
And if we connected to it, we would be abandoning our 5 or 6 septic systems
Yep.
that all vary in age.
Yeah, so we have some that vary, from 1960, according to our DEQ documents. I think our newest one's 2002, which isn't, how, because that doesn't seem very old to me, but that actually is like in the lifespan of a wastewater system getting up there. The next youngest from 2002 is we have a 1998, a 99, a 1974, and then that 1960 system that I talked about previously. So they're all getting, some of them are probably past lifespan, they just haven't shown any issues yet, and some of the other ones are going to be there soon.
So at 19K a year, how long, if we put in a new system ourselves, that's what I'm trying to weigh. I don't want that money to go away from our community. I want that, because I think it's the important thing to have at Three Sisters. I'm just very, very concerned about what that would cost our district to get that into, let's say, I'm thinking we might have to hold it forever, and do we want to be in that business? And that's what I'm concerned about.
Well, but if, and my questions are not geared towards like I'm one way or the other. My questions are, Lane and I have been talking about this since yesterday, so, we would not be a business if no one else ever hooked up. It would just be our septic system, but we would still be having to maintain it forever, the entire cost of running it. But we don't know what that cost is because we don't know.
Yeah, we just have the projection from the county for the full 10,000 gallon.
What they believe
Maybe that's 1,600.
cost of running it would be
Yeah.
$20,000 a year.
Right.
Are we at
And I don't know what things like that
We're-
cost.
we're-
I don't
it's
know
a-
if that's a bargain or.
open discussion? Okay.
Yeah, so we took about a half an hour to read through some of the documentation. This is how we're just discussing it.
So I've talked a little bit with Melissa and I've talked a little bit with Lane about this. Just from past experience with grants, anytime you're in a timeline crunch, something's gonna get missed. That's what scares me, is what hidden cost could end up coming back to the district. Specifically, if we start, they start construction, we've got a $3.5 million grant. They start construction, there's timelines that are associated for grant drawdown. And if we have something that stalls out the construction, we're gonna be the ones that are responsible for paying for issues that arise or penalties. So that's the other thing. We haven't had time to really review all the grant documentation with appropriate.
Well, that'll be on Lake County. We're not receiving that funding. Lake County has it, and they would be the ones doing the
Okay,
construction management.
so they're gonna manage it, so why don't they take why don't they take the hit for I guess I'm not understanding why the school district has to take the risk.
Because they need in order for that to be built, there has to be a permit holder. The
Right.
county's not gonna hold the permit, and there has to be a use.
Okay. But why is it coming to us 2 days before the deadline? That's what I'm having a hard time with.
Yeah, no, we've been discussing it for a while, and I've tried to keep the district out of it,
Mhm.
try to find other avenues, and really there didn't seem that there would be even an avenue for the district to do it until about this week.
Okay, but why are the other entities not wanting
Not
to do
doing it. Why?
That's my question. There's a reason somebody isn't. We've got other entities that don't want to take leadership, and they've had this for a lot longer than we have and been able to examine things and talk to people, and we're being asked to make a decision. Literally, I became aware of it last night. In less than 24 hours, we're being asked to make a commitment of funds when we're already in a budget crunch and commit $20,000 a year. Commit another $20,000 a year out of a budget that's already tight. That's my concern. I just don't think we have adequate time to research, read documents. And I don't like seeing money go away either. I've looked at what we talked about with like our septic system. One of the things I thought of, if we're gonna incur a $20,000 a year cost to run a system, and we may eventually end up needing a new system and we tie into it, if as a board we agree, I'm also not we take that risk and then hand it off to somebody else if we take the risk. And I talked to Melissa, there are ways, if we had time to adequately review documents, where we could have an agreement written that if we help develop and hold that, I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, the ownership of that system, where you have an agreement that anybody else that develops in that, you have it written in the development agreements that they have to hook to that system. They can't do a separate system. But part of their purchase agreement is, or the development agreement is, they have to tie to that system, so you don't have somebody move in, develop, and then put their own system in.
Yeah, and I think like the proposal that we'd be giving to the partners, the district would own the property. So then the district could put those stipulations in place.
Because that would be my, if there's a way for us to recoup that $20,000 a year in the future, I would be more likely.
Well, and I am curious for Jason's first question. There are a lot of you guys here from this group, and Dave's even on it. Why have other entities that qualify to manage this backed out? Jim?
I can answer that.
Are you the only is the water district the only entity that was ever going to take it?
As far as I know, correct.
Okay, go ahead, sorry, I just wanted to
No,
clarify.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yes, as far as I know, the water district was the only entity involved in that grant. And I don't know if your board is aware of the situation, why the water district abandoned that is because they told us that they were out of money. And they have $2 million plus off this grant. There was a grant for $15 million, $9 million of it was ear tagged for the new water system. It was granted to a lowest bidder, and that brought that down. And I think that's where the extra $1 million comes from on the two. But at the same time, there still wasn't enough money to put the pipe in, the Ranco system and everything that goes along with it. All they had money for was to continue to design it out and put it on paper, and they suggested that we shelve it until we got more money to actually hook everybody up and make it complete. And that's why the water district pretty much said, hey, quit spending money, quit wasting money, let's put it somewhere else and move on. And now they're looking for a signer for a permit. As you said, that's kind of what they're looking for.
But the signer for the permit, and I trust every face in here, I think I know all of you, so it's not even a trust issue, it's just the financial side for me when we're already in a budget crunch of committing to a $20,000 a year additional cost with no recoup time.
Totally understand. That's where the water district was at. I'm here to listen to this because of that and to inform and give you the most knowledge that you can have to make a decision. So I'm not here saying it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Nope.
But just be aware.
Yep. Has there been community comments on what
Yes.
what's the community's feeling?
Well, there was a survey done, and as far as I know, there was 14 people that were positive about a connection with the sewer system, and not all those 14 people even lived here. So the cost was a big question for me as a chairman of the board per household, and I believe there was 30 connections that they could do right now with
Sounds about right.
DEQ approval.
Yeah.
And I'm just using my calculator, I'm not
Yeah.
testing.
So I was told right now, just for the district cost, would be about $70 per month. Now, that's without a superintendent that has to be certified in a lot of things, dirty water. And that's about $100,000 a year for a superintendent. You have to pump that system off whenever it's full. If the drain field can't handle it, and you have to have that hauled to town. Nobody could ever tell me what that cost was or how often, because you don't know how much is going into it. So there's questions there, but when I do the napkin math on it, I come up with about $150 per household.
Okay.
And that's I was told that you have 30 residential houses you could put on that pipe, but every time if you had a restaurant or a cafe, that takes 10 away.
Yep.
So if you have
sense.
you know, if you have a school cafeteria, I don't know what kind of, you know, what that puts on, or,
Well, and do you have anybody that's near the site that's proposed to, that's just itching to get connected to it?
well, the Three Sisters Meadow, I think.
Other
wants-
than the Three Sisters Meadow?
Yeah, no. There was people in town that were interested in it, but, you know, the cost, no one really wants to sign up with it because it's, you know, the cost. And now, at first, everybody was excited about it because the county said, well, you can't put any septics in town, but now you can. Now you can have advanced systems on smaller lots.
Well, and there's another thing that you just brought up. Who's gonna pay the $100,000 a year fee for a superintendent?
That would be, yeah, we wouldn't hire a full-time superintendent, we contract a provider, so that would be what the
20,000 is.
$20,000
Okay.
per year
That's-
cost is.
Okay.
To be to have somebody.
Yeah, the water district, you know, looked at it from the perspective of having to hire another superintendent, you know, or go outside and, you know, once you go outside, you don't have it in-house, it's gonna probably cost you more than that. Depending, I don't, you know, I don't know all the aspects of that, but to me, it just kept escalating and escalating, and the pressure was to hurry up and sign. And, you know, they spent $3 million in the park drilling for drain fields to do a cost analysis. And, or it was, forgive me, it wasn't a cost analysis, it was, what was it? Feasibility study, thank you.
Testing the hydrology.
Yeah. $3 million in 30 months. And to come back and say the water table's too shallow. And I think you're gonna find that up and down the valley here, anywhere you go.
Well, and has that property even been tested? Okay.
Yes. Now, that's where they came up with it. I think it's 10,000 gallons a day.
The 3 million was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how they came up with their, how many gallons each you can put into the system per day.
Can the system be expanded?
Yeah.
It could,
Maybe.
depending on what their findings are when you start using it. And that's just a gamble to me. That's, to be straight up, that's why I abandoned it, and the board decided not to do it because it was just too much of a risk, I think, to take on.
Depending on the use of the property, they believe there's space to potentially expand it to 25,000 per day. But then that also, there's a lot of variables about, you know, as you get closer to the river, that changes how clean the pre-treatment would have to do in order to get it to where the levels are.
Boy, I don't want to be the naysayer. I just think there's too many unknowns to, and I'm just speaking for myself. There's too many unknown costs that could sneak up and bite us if we're gonna have to truck. I mean, I know what trucking, you know better than me what trucking costs are. And then it's not just the trucking, it's then once it gets there, you're paying per gallon on to whoever receives it.
The downside is I do see the benefit
Oh.
to your guys' group, to us as a district, to the community, but I just, there's too much that is a question mark.
I think if we had more time, that was kind of my thought. That's why I took the time to not sneak out. I had permission to leave. I forgot we're in public. I asked, I was granted permission to leave. But that is there's too many unknowns, and the compressed, I've always said, as I explained to you, whenever I feel like time's compressed, it almost makes me want to push back for nothing more than what are we going to miss. And as elected members, we're here representing the school district and the school district budget. And I don't see how I could give a positive vote without having more time to review documents and find the exact cost. That's my take.
Anybody on? Yep, go ahead, Dana first.
Let me turn my mic back on. Oh, it is, okay. As a Three Sisters board member, I would say yes, let's do it because we're gonna lose that $3.5 million. But as a McK School Board member, I feel a lot like Jason and some of the others. It's like there's a lot of unknowns here. And we've taken a risk a little bit based on that, but I really hate to see that $3.5 million go away. And it sounds like it's going to if we don't move on this. I'm kind of up in the air. I'm for the Three Sisters Meadow, but I'm kind of up in the air. I can go either way with the McK School Board member.
Elaine?
This is good. I'm just throwing this out there. I just was thinking, I'm going to just be thinking out loud a little bit. So if we, let's say that we put together this proposal and give it to the Three Sisters to do it. So this project has to be done by September 2026. I mean, I can't even fathom that a project like that could be done that quickly, but maybe it is.
Yeah.
And the second part of the question is, just to, again, to clarify in my mind, part of that 3.5 million would hook up the school district to that. I mean, it'll dig underneath the roads and get us there.
We'd have to have a pumping station also.
Well, yeah. That's what I mean, I don't want the district then to have to pay to, if we approve it, that the district then would have the additional cost of hooking up to that. But maybe because we're the holder that we get to decide that. Anyways, do you see what my question is?
Yeah, that's how I understood it. Would be a part of the construction cost. Yeah, there's definitely a time pinch to get construction underway. So yeah, it is.
I guess I'm also worried like could like a cost go up and such like that. And is there any realm or any part of this that 3.5 would not cover it, and then you've got something half built or 3/4 built, or that's another question.
That's a good one, Elaine, and then who covers those extra costs? So if the 3.5 doesn't cover it, then, I mean, part of grant funds is you usually have to go to completion. You can't just partially complete.
And I'm assuming it would, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, and I haven't seen all of the funding in the spreadsheets. I imagine there's a contingency fund built into their projections, but I can't say that I've seen the accounts.
So then my other question to you, Wayne, because you're kind of the holder of things, is this going to add something to your plate?
Yeah.
Because that's something that would be a hard no for me. You've got enough, and we can't keep adding.
So like, I appreciate that this already like would fall in line with some of the bandwidth that I've been being engaged with this group. But I also like, I get it's a risk. That's kind of a gamble. But there's nobody else taking risks and gambles up here right now to help us get more families in butts and seats. And this gives us an opportunity to fill a need that Blue River's known it's needed for a very long time, even if it's just a toehold, And, I agree with you. The economy's not great right now.
No.
So it is some risk. I just think it might add a little bit more work, but that's at the risk of not having enough work.
And then one other question is, don't we have an obligation to the district members, like the school district members, to have a public meeting where they can have input? Because again, we're making a decision on district funds, and there's been no time for public input, so we're gonna make a vote on using district funds.
So tonight's vote would just be to present the proposal to the Three Sisters Meadow
Mhm.
Partners Group. They can still say, yeah, it's a terrible idea, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
And then if that's approved, then I think the next steps would obligate us to do
Those community
more of
meetings.
those community
and-
meetings.
So this is not committing
This is not
us.
locking us into saying we take this permit.
You know, worst case, we,
If this isn't locking us into the permit, then that's a whole other, then that, I feel like we're in a different place.
you know, right now, this is just, I came to you to ask for permission, to ask the partners about this transfer of land, of ownership of the property. And then, you know, then beginning those conversations with Lane County to get that, because there'd be a whole lot of other places. Maybe even if the partners asked and said, yeah, they want to do this, and McK River Trust is like, that's not likely, but there's another slip up that they might not want to give the property. Very unlikely. But yeah, right now this is just asking to be able to bring this proposal to that group. And there'll be a lot of other steps along the way, and then we can communicate to the county of like, yeah, that project could still happen.
Dean has got his hand.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, that changes everything for me, going both ways on this. I think I would vote yes, to just go ahead and present it to the Three Sisters Meadow Partner. And I think the other thing about Lane, dumping a bunch more on him, I think there's a lot of people up here that would help him with that, especially the Three Sister Meadow Committee would definitely probably help trying to push this, just because it's going to benefit us. We don't have any way, that's money we'd have to spend to put a septic system in, to put housing or restaurants or anything else in. And this is going to really help the community. So at this point, I think I'd vote yes to present it.
Because I'd vote yes as long as we're not making a financial commitment at this point, and that there'll be time for public comment, and that we're gonna get information out to our district where they could come in and voice their. Because I think public comment with that type of commitment in this type of budget climate, we need to allow district members to come in and before we actually commit to a $20,000 a year cost.
Do we still have time for that? Before you guys lose the funds to build that?
I think worst case scenario, we tell the county that both parties are agreeing to like look to make that happen. They keep the funding, and then they have to go back to the state when we can't.
Yeah.
If we say at the end, no, we don't want to do
Really
this.
look at it and we'd have more time to look at the specifics, like you guys were talking about the cost for pumping, what our frequency is. There's some other questions.
Because I'm still really concerned about that 19K a year also. And I just want to backtrack a little bit. So what you're saying is that the county takes care of that 3.5. We're not managing that. So we don't have to manage that. So if it goes over or under, that's the county's issue, not our issue. We're not held any kind of liable for that.
Yeah, I think like worst case, we would end up having, like Jason said though, like a 3/4 completed thing. So that's worth discussing with the county about what is the contingency, what is the actual, you know, get a spreadsheet, a prospectus, and like, so what exactly is this doable with what you say you got?
Like, I think Dana and I are on the same page. I'm good with proposals and moving forward that way. I'm just not willing to.
I'm not willing to
commit
give a
money
yes vote, go ahead, let's do this without
without public.
hearing from the rest of our district.
And if nobody shows up, you know, that's then I'd be comfortable. But just with a, like like Elaine said, $19,000 to $20,000 out of an already tight budget without having public input.
Well, like Lane and I talked about earlier too, I mean, which he can't answer because again, it's been such a short time frame. We could already be spending $12,000 a year to maintain our current septic. So what we're looking at is a difference of $8,000 a year. But we don't know that.
I need to know those numbers.
Exactly. We don't know that.
That's a great
If we're in
point.
the ballpark, we're in the ballpark.
Yes.
That's awesome, Elaine. I didn't even think of that,
Yeah.
what our current cost
Yeah,
is.
between what because we're incurring yearly
Yeah,
costs.
I know for sure we're spending $2,000 a year
But
just
he-
for DEQ.
Yeah, but he doesn't know about the pumping and because he's had enough time to combine it all, so.
So we're gonna need
Yeah,
to,
because 2K from 19K is a huge.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's just a tenfold increase.
Yeah.
so, I mean, we're gonna need a motion.
I think, did you want to
And
have any?
I just have one more quick thing regarding that. So if we go ahead and do this proposal, I mean, what would we have to do at a board is if we start getting all this information and say, oh my God, no, this isn't anywhere close to what we think this is
So
going to be.
Lane and I
We can't do it.
talked about that. If he takes it to the Three Sisters people and it gets all approved and goes through the trust and gets all approved, we would still have to have another, obviously, listening session for our community, and we would have to have another meeting to vote yes or no, ultimately.
Then we have a whole, so in a way, this is giving us time to get those figures.
Yes.
Like Jason and everything said.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
This is Doug, on that basis, I move.
Oh, but before we move, we have some community people that potentially may want to comment on what we've been discussing. No motions yet. And anyone in the audience? Cliff, come on up.
Well, can you hear me? I just wanted to share, to answer your question, you alluded to how much time you have and my recent conversation with the county is not much. The funding deadline is today, according to what they've been telling us. Now, my question to the county was, if you folks adopt this proposal and bring it to our committee, are we going to even have time to address that and discuss it? And I was told, yes, you could, but you have to have work completed by September of 26. You have to have invoices paid by December of 26. You have to have permits and planning and all the unknowns taken care of before May. Let's just say, something like that. In order to make the construction work and to have a completed project by September 26, you need to build in that time frame so that, like Jason said, the unknowns don't kill the project. So that being said, we do have time, a little bit of time. What is that? It's short. So should you folks decide to adopt this proposal, I've already alerted our committee that we need to meet next week.
Okay.
Sooner than later, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, to address your proposal and discuss it on our end. But if you're building in community input and all this and that, you need to keep that in consideration as well.
We'd have to do that sooner.
You have to do it sooner than later, and you cannot take a lot of time, because it's going to, I don't know how much how much grace they're going to give us on this.
I think you could get I mean, if they get back after we do the proposal, your group, I think it's what? I don't know what the meeting notice requirement is, 24, 48, 72.
It's 24 hours for special meetings.
So I would do 48, just so we double it. So 2 days notice, just to give people time to actually get here. And I don't see why we couldn't have, if we vote to approve the proposal, they meet early next week to have this all hammered out next week with 48 hours, doubling the required notice to give people plenty of time to get here. And I think if we're going to do that, I think we need to do the meeting minutes or meeting notices at public buildings like the stores, the restaurants in the area, so people really feel, because Facebook just doesn't do it, not everybody's on it. Maybe even send a notice home with students. I mean, that would, I'm just thinking, how could we get a good notice out where I feel like
Now,
we've done
if we were to do
diligence.
a community meeting, let's say we planned it for next week, is that enough time for you guys to meet and MRT to,
I don't know.
on your guys' ends, or should we
Yeah, I'm
be
not
thinking
gonna-
like 2 weeks from now?
It's a good question. I'm not gonna preclude where the committee goes with the proposal. I mean, that's not for me to say. It's for you to propose it, it's us to take a look at it and have our meeting. Now, it could very well be that one meeting would take care of any questions that that committee has.
Okay.
Reaching out to MRT, I don't know that that would take a great amount of time, to be honest with you. I think the MRT and Joe Moll, as Brandy has alluded to, is pretty, they've been wonderful to work with, I'll just
Okay.
say it. And very flexible. So that may not take a lot of time. The issue is you'd have to talk to the county and make sure your time for what you need to do on your end is gonna work with the county.
Yeah, when I
That's
reached
on
out
you
to
guys
them,
to do,
yeah,
so.
when I reached out to them yesterday, it's kind of like what you were saying, like, yeah, we have a little bit more time.
They're thinking like weeks, not months, basically, is.
I would say like week.
A
Yeah,
week.
like I said, yeah,
They're-
not,
I think Jason's timeline.
My
is-
conversation with
That's where I'm
Jerry,
going. I want it to be fast. I'm
Okay.
not wanting to delay stuff. I just want to make sure the public has input and they have plenty of time. The worst thing would be to do the 24-hour notice, nobody able to be here. And so I think 2 days, 48 hours notice for the public. We can send stuff home as long as I'm not committing Lane to something with students, so parents get something in their hands, put it on Facebook. Ken's here,
okay.
so.
Any other comments? No? Yep, go ahead, Elaine.
I also want to make sure that we have enough time to get those figures too.
Yeah.
Because we'll be in the same discussion if we don't have those figures of what it's really going to cost the district
Yeah.
to be part of this. And again, and I really want to have the discussion too, I don't want to lose this money, but is this really school board? Is this something that the district the school board should be?
Mhm.
If you look at what our parameters are, it's usually around budget and the superintendent and things like that. And so, but I do believe it could also improve bringing in more kids. That could be 2 years down the road. I think it'd be closer to 10 years down the road, given how long it's taken everything to be, how slow things move. Hopefully things are moving a little faster, but those are the questions that I want to have time, make sure that there's time for Lane to put that together for us too.
Okay.
And adding to that, Elaine, I think looking at our current system, and if we do start losing or going offline with our system, what would the cost on property be to
Start fixing or
Start fixing.
replacing them.
because it's not just gonna be a fix in place, you're gonna have to bring up to current
Mhm.
code.
Oh, yeah.
So having that figure of if we lose a drain field, I think, is that what, we may lose a drain field, is what would it cost to repair that, and how does that factor into, sorry, Lane.
No, you're all right. I've been doing this to myself. You all were gonna have a lovely Halloween, watching
I still
football
am.
or trick or treating, and I was like, hey, we need to talk about this, guys. So just to make sure I'm hearing, we need to have what we're currently spending. You want those hard figures. Talk with that contractor about the true operating costs. So I'll have to get some more specifics from the county, but I can do that. I've made contact. And then what would the true repair cost be for our current?
To repair or
Yeah.
replace our current systems if they started to fail.
And what the cost would be to, if we have take ownership of that property, what are the costs for us to maintain that property? That's very vague, I understand, but there will be cost involved. If, and maybe maybe they know what they've been spending to make sure that property is safe, and I don't know if there is expenses, maybe there isn't, but
Oh,
if
good.
there is, that we got to factor that in.
Elaine, you actually just brought up something else that I just thought of too, is there gonna be additional insurance impact to the district that we're not thinking of because we're adding land and infrastructure to the district. So what would the insurance adjustment be? Because they're not just gonna cover it and be nice, there's gonna be a cost.
Yeah, I think the land would be minimal because it would be like public space beyond what we're currently paying.
Yeah, but it is
But
gonna
I
be
do
costly.
think for like a new waste system, what that would look like.
And
that
then
could be
liability
a-
risk
yeah.
too, like if somebody goes over there and gets hurt.
Yep. Okay.
Well, and if we can get a stronger idea of how much is left for admin money to take all of that that's around that too, please.
Capturing what now, sorry.
Brandy knows what I'm talking about, but so we can get the money that would come over from
Oh,
the
remaining
trust that's left, that's earmarked for
grant monies. Yeah.
the property, and what the parameters with that money is, and
I'm sorry, Lane, and then are we talking like we're gonna keep this property in the district forever, or is it something that we are gonna, I think what you wrote in there is like finding somebody else.
we're talking about temporary possession
Okay.
but the unknown, it's an unknown
I
amount
think,
of
like-
temporary possession.
Well, wait a sec, I don't necessarily agree with temporary possession until we've recouped any cost that the district puts out, because that's not fiscally responsible if we're putting money out above.
Well, and all the proposal says is temporary. It's not like, we would have to work out details later on how that transferred back out of our name, that type of
Gotcha.
stuff. We're
'Cause,
just,
like, my personal hope would be like it ends up making fiscal sense for the water district to organize as a sanitary district and take that on, and that we might, find a way to do a system to support downtown in a suitable location, or as things expand. Because I don't,
I don't want
we already do like a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily direct school, like teaching kids stuff, and I don't want to add one more thing like that.
But I
to our
also
plans
don't-
long term.
I just don't want to incur expense and not have a way to recoup our
Yeah.
expense. So I don't want to do all this, take on all this work,
Yeah.
then turn around and hand it to somebody else, and then they get the benefit of what
yeah,
the school district paid. There has to be a way for us to recoup what we put in, and I'm not talking profit.
just what
What we
actual
got,
expense that was paid.
correct.
Okay, any other comments? No? Doug, we can entertain a motion now.
Yeah, before I do, I just want to concur with all the questions. I have all the same questions, and that Lane is taking notes and intending to answer those questions. And then the question I had for, in my mind for Lane until he answered it was, since this is his proposal, having heard all of our concerns, what is he feeling at this point? He expressed that. So on the basis that we are not entering into a contract this evening, we're simply approving his proposal, and on the basis that that proposal still has to be responded to by the Three Sisters Committee, and these questions have to be answered, I move that we approve this proposal.
Doug moved, Dana seconded. All those in
I
favor?
concur with Doug, I second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously passed. Adjournment, anybody? Anybody?
Motion.
Jason moves to adjourn, Dana seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I gotta go get an ambulance.